It's a beautiful evening. We've got galaxies in the sky. We have our Saturn-esque planet and, of course, our moth friend coming back. Welcome back to the Green Hand channel, my friends. We are going through a Satisfactory 1.0 practical playthrough with tutorials. I'm going to be explaining as much as I possibly can. This is our 4th episode. In the last episode, we automated reinforced iron plates in a very simple way. We haven't built our final configuration of these yet, but we have enough to move on to the next phase of the game. And that next phase is going to be clearing out Tier 2. So we have 2 more to clear out. We have to get these jump pads as well as the resource sink bonus program. And we're also going to build our space elevator. So what I've done is I've added it to my to-do list in the right-hand corner. You can see I'm a little short on concrete. I'm very short on my iron plates because pretty much all of those are going to make reinforced iron plates right now. And I'm also short on my rods. So let's see if I've got enough concrete in here. And I do. Very handy. And I'm going to see how many rods I've got. I might have almost enough to place this already. Yep, so all I'm really missing are the plates. And I'm starting to build a stockpile up of those. So we'll wait on these to backfill. Because remember, I'm producing 40 per minute out of 2 constructors, right? So 2 times 20 is 40, and we're only using 30 over here. So we're gonna build a surplus of 10 per minute in this storage facility. So it'll take a little bit of time, but that's totally fine because we need to do a couple extra things. We're gonna try to make our life a little bit easier by doing some adventuring around the map and finding some of the many, many artifacts that are left for us on this planet. And as we go along, we'll collect some biomass, we'll collect some fruit and fruits, and we'll see what we can find. We have found a nice new area. This is kind of where I started the game almost 6 years ago. We've got some limestone, and we've got some more iron, but it's, I think, a little bit better quality. Yeah, we've got some normal nodes over here, and this is really not that far away from our base, so if we ever wanted to expand our main starter base, we could do so over here pretty easily, because we've got, looks like 3 nodes for iron. We got another limestone over here, although that one is impure. And then I believe, if my memory serves me, there should be a copper node right up here. And man, this really brings me back. It was way back, like 5 years ago, when I first started playing this game. This is pretty much all there was available to us. And there it is, right there, my very first copper node. So I can set up another base here if I want to, but really I'm just kind of scavenging around the map, trying to find what are called hard drives. So on this planet, we're not the first visitors here. In fact, Fixit has sent other pioneers before who have fared much worse than we have. Some of them don't even seem to have landed properly, and they seem to have pretty much died right away. But they've left behind for us something that will prove very, very helpful. And if I'm not mistaken, there should be one of those hard drives somewhere around here. And there we have it, my friends. So what's nice about these situations is you can usually pick up some stuff that you need and you would have had to craft otherwise. Like I just got 26 rotors there, and we have not automated rotors yet. So this was a big pickup for us. We also got a bunch of concrete, which we can always use more of. And then here we have our drop pod. This drop pod looks like it needs 40 megawatts of power to get started, which means I need to actually build some biomass burners, and just annoyingly enough, I don't have any materials to do it. So sometimes you need to open this with something special. So what I'll do is I'll press M, open my map up, and I'll put down just a little marker here so I know that there's a drop pod there, and I'll come back for that later. Looks like we found something that we haven't seen before, Caterium ore, which is going to be a special ore that we need for quite a bit of items in the game. This is just a quick node. There's no actual ore mine attached to it, but I have a feeling if we go back to our base and we scan it, we're going to be able to find more Caterium. We officially have all the materials we need for probably the coolest item in the game, the space elevator. So let's build it out. It's quite large. We need to clear out just a bit of extra space here at our massively gridded out base to build this. And you can't be really too cautious when it comes to space and Satisfactory. Feel free to build way more than you think you'll need, because trust me, you will absolutely be needing it. So let's build the space elevator. Look how big this is. I don't even know if I have enough space as it is. I might have to switch this around, but I think we should be able to make it fit. I'll just pinch it right there, bring it into here, and we should be good. So let's take a look at that build animation. All of our items flying into it. I wish we could build things like this in real life. It'd be so handy. Boom. And look at that. We got something up in the sky that is about to form. Let's grab this, take that away, and see one of the cooler animations in the game. Oh, our moth is flying over right at the exact same time. Is he going to go right through it? Oh, okay, he will. We might have to change the placement. We don't want our moth to be dying like that. Look at that. We've now connected to the platform up above, and our mission here on this planet has officially begun, because we need to start delivering in phase 1 something called smart plating to our space elevator, which requires a pretty serious recipe at this stage of the game. It requires reinforced iron plates and rotors, one of each. And you saw what it took to create our reinforced iron plate. We've got our plates and our rods and screws all going into one assembler here. So we're going to need to do the same thing for our rotors. So that'll be mission number 1 here. The first thing I'm going to do, though, is get this out of our moth's path. So I created a nice overhanging platform that breaks the laws of physics, but we will be fixing that later on in the game. I like to build in a very organic way and then just figure out design solutions to make it look better later on, because especially early on in the game, you just rebuild so much once you really get your hands on how to play this game that it's not really worth getting too fancy about it, if you ask me. So I've got my space elevator here. I'm just going to do a quick nudge, and we'll have it up on this little cliffside here, just like that. We have our inputs right here, and there we go. So now that our space elevator is complete, what we need to do is figure out how are we going to get 50 smart plating up into this in an automated fashion. So the first thing we have to solve for is our assembler that we're going to need to build a rotor. So let's figure out what we need to make rotors. Rotors are right here. So it looks like we're going to need rods and screws, which coincidentally actually come from the same raw input of iron, and screws actually come from rods, which is really, really good for us. Now, if you remember, we actually have, look at that. Our moth is now beautifully flying by our space elevator. We might even be able to create something cool in the future where the moth can fly through. But if you remember on last episode, when we automated screws, we created 3 constructors for our screws, making 40 a minute, but this belt, a Mark 1 belt, can only transport 60. So we actually have the capacity for 120 screws, and our assembler for reinforced iron plates only needs 60. So we have a free 60 screws per minute that we aren't using right now that we could split off for our other system. But that being said, I still think we're going to need a little bit more, because we need 100 screws per minute for our assembler. So what I'll do here is split this off. Let's extend our factory floor just a touch here, because we're going to need to bring our rotors and our reinforced iron plates relatively close together. So I'll bring this assembler out just a touch this way, and we'll build an entirely separate production line for our rotors early on in this game. So we need 20 rods a minute. Fortunately, we actually have more than 20 rods coming out over here. We have, looks like 30 rods coming out. So something that I can do here, if I wanted to only take 20 rods out of this storage facility per minute, then what I could do is create what's called a load balancer, or some sort of splitter merger combination that solves for pulling 20 off of this line. So let's go ahead and do that right now. The first thing I want to do is remove the storage facility. So what I have here is 15 and 15. So this output right here is going to be 30, right? So what I need to do is I need to create a splitter here, and we're going to split 10 and 10 off. So what we'll do here is we'll create a merger right over here. We're going to bring 10 this way and 10 this way, and then the final 10 we will just stash in storage over here. So now it's a really clever way, especially in the early game when you're trying to just kind of get through certain areas. Let me steal some plates here real quick. It's a really clever way to peel off of your existing infrastructure. So we're taking 30 and we're just splitting 20 out this way because there's 3 outputs, right? And then we're going to steal these 20 and put them over into our assembler over here. And this is where you start to get into this term called spaghetti, which is, I'm definitely going into spaghetti mode right here. But again, this is just the start. We will clean all this up way later. So here we go. We're going to lift this guy up. It's a little too steep. We're going to go here, we're going to go here and lift it up. We're going to come right over the top of this guy, bring it down, and there we go. We have an input for our rods already to create our rotors. Let's power this guy up just so we can start loading him. So we have the exact amount coming in, 20 a minute, which is great. And now we need to peel off some screws. The only problem with this is I kind of need more screws than I have. I need 100 screws per minute if I'm going to get 4 rotors per minute. I need 4 rotors per minute because I'm making 5 reinforced plates a minute, and if we take a look at our recipe for smart plating, I need 2 of each per minute. So even if I max out my rotor production at 4 per minute, I can only really make do with 2 rotors per minute and 2 reinforced iron plate per minute. So what that means is I actually can peel off a little bit of these screws and put them right in here, and I can get my smart plating automated right away. Now, is this the perfect way to do smart plating? A lot of people who are more advanced players would say no, because it's actually not super efficient to do it this way, but it slowly gets a little bit of smart plating going for you while you advance other portions of the game. Now remember, I only have Mark 1 belts on these screws. It's 120 a minute, so I can't transport all of them. So what I need to do is upgrade this to a Mark 2 belt. And the way to do that is to pull open your belts, hold E, and go down to your Mark 2 belts, and you can actually upgrade without having to rebuild. So boom, I've done that. Now this is transporting 120 a minute, which is great because all the other ones were not able to do that. So what I'll do is I'm going to pull 60 that are going to go into my reinforced iron plate facility right over here. And then I'm going to pull the other 60. Actually, let's do this. I'm going to pull the other 60 right into my assembler for my rotors. I'm going to pull my rod line over as well. So now I am creating not exactly 4 per minute, but I'm creating more than 2 per minute, which is all I really need at this phase of the game. So what we're going to do here is start up an automation chain that actually feeds into a final endpoint. So we're going to steal that assembler using our middle button here, and we're going to pop that guy down. We'll extend this platform just a touch here. We're running out of plates yet again, and there we go. So we now have our rotor producer and our reinforced iron plate producer bringing themselves right over to here to create smart plating. And this is how we're going to get it all the way up to here. So this is kind of where the game gets fun, when you start to automate different things and they end up at other places doing some sort of other job, right? So the way we're going to get it over here is quite simple. I built some vertical foundations upwards, and I'm actually going to use a new item we haven't used quite yet. We're going to use a conveyor lift, and that's going to snap to any of these inputs on the space elevator, right? So we'll snap it, bring it down. If we go yellow here, that means we're clipping into the foundation, which we don't want, so we're just going to turn it this way with our scroll wheel, and there we go. So all we need to do now is attach to our assembler output and take a look. Our smart plating is making its way over to the space elevator, and when it gets there, it's going to start to decrement the amount that we need, and we'll eventually be able to move on, because right now we're completely progression locked in the game, my friends. The green hand has taken you from tier 0, building out your hub, to tier 1 to tier 2. Now there's a couple things we haven't unlocked yet, which we'll work on while our smart plating is completed. So we're going to get to the end of tier 2 by the end of this video. Let's just start dumping in resources. We've got the wire, we don't have the concrete yet. And a fun little fact is you can start dumping in resources in multiple milestones as long as you haven't sent it. So I need to go grab some concrete and some plates. So most of our plates, rods, and screws are being taken up by our smart plating facility, which is pretty much our whole factory at this point. So if I need to get some plates, etc., for some milestones, then it might be a good idea for me to set up a dedicated facility just to mine some of the simple stuff that I need, and I don't use that for anything else. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm running concerningly low on limestone all of the time, so I'm going to set up another limestone facility so I can just make sure I never run out of concrete. And I'm getting really unlucky because all these are impure in this region, so although the grassy fields is a great place to start, I may have not picked the absolute best starting area. I'm in this area over here. I know that I found some good stuff in this area over here and this area over here, but trust me, this map is massive. So even though my start is not necessarily in the most pure or normal noded area, it is totally okay because I'm going to make up for it in a big way in a pretty short amount of time. So as I'm building this new limestone mine to bring these 30 limestone over to here to process into my constructors, I'm going to give you a tip that took me way too long to learn. So if you're going to use a conveyor lift, and of course we need the bottom of this lift to be taking materials in, not spitting materials out like this. If you press R, it will switch that direction. It seems simple, but this took me so long to figure out. Like, I had hundreds of hours in this game before I even figured that out. So there you go, free little tip for you. So we're gonna bring our limestone up. And the reason I'm doing this is because I wanna bring my raw resources over to my general concrete processing facility over here. And because concrete takes 45 per minute per constructor, I actually already have the constructors I need, because I'm getting 60 out of this one and 30 out of this one, split in half. That would be 45 each going into each of those two constructors. So if I feed this line in, I'm actually going to be properly utilizing those two constructors. If you get this problem going on, just pop that chainsaw out and cut some more stuff out of the ground. So what I'm gonna do here is actually just have my merger come in over here. We'll draw from our mine here and from our miner here. And then we're just gonna slightly rebuild this. We're gonna throw our splitter right here. And you remember, for this one right here, this little piece of conveyor belt, this is going to be running at 90. It's going to be 60 plus 30 from over there. So we actually need to upgrade just this little sliver to a Mark II belt. Otherwise, our throughput will be hampered. So it's little tips like that that help you really get the game going. Because if you miss that, you've built it correctly, technically, but you have made a calculation error that's going to drastically change the amount of resources that you are creating. So here we go. We are back in business with a fully optimized two-constructor concrete facility, and we're going to be getting a little bit more of that now. While we were creating some of our upgraded facilities here, our very last piece of smart plating is making its way up the lift to go into our space elevator, and we will have completed phase 1 of Satisfactory. And it seems simple, right? I mean, we didn't do that much here. We just slowly improved each of these facilities to be slightly more efficient over time. And here we go. So we have to load up our cargo, 50 smart plating, going up into space to do who knows what.
Welcome to the Project Assembly Pioneer Progress presentation. Congratulations, the Phase 1 project part shipment is now ready for delivery. On delivery, Phase 1 will be completed and the distribution platform will be constructed. After completion of Phase 1, the technologies of Tiers 3 and 4 will become available in the hub. Highlights are automated power, steel production, personnel transportation, and many more.
So we have some really cool new items that have been unlocked for us in the higher tiers, but we just sent our very first batch of items up to the space elevator. So let's take a look at what happens. Oh, little cloud clearage.
Phase 1 of Project Assembly completed. This is only the beginning of Project Assembly, the first step towards saving the day. You have performed adequately so far. Reminder, not only is Fix-It saving humanity, it is saving all of Earth, including kittens and puppies. It is statistically likely that you appreciate the continued existence of kittens and/or puppies.
Okay, my friends, we have completed phase 1. Let's see what we can go unlock in phase 2. And we also have just a couple more things to unlock in tier 2 of the initial phase that we started this game in. So once we get resource sync and jump pads, we're going to move on. But just a little teaser on what's to come in the next episode. We're going to set up our very first coal power plant and unlock some very fancy things that allow us to never really think about our power in a serious way again. You know, if I don't fill in my biomass burner over here, of course it will run out and then my whole power grid will go down. But coal power does not have that same problem. Coal power, in fact, will allow us to produce energy on autopilot forever. We're also going to get into some piping and some steel production. This has been The Green Hand. I'm a YouTuber, but I'm not a gaming YouTuber. This is my little secret gaming channel. I have a couple million subscribers on a different channel in a totally different category, and the first person on this channel who figures out who I am, I will buy a copy of this game on Steam. So drop a comment. I will see you guys very soon for phase 2 of Satisfactory.